Hello everybody, I'm going to be making two videos on my channel listing the top 5 worst films I've seen in the year 2022 and the top 5 best films I've seen in the year 2022. So let's just get this over with. Here are the 5 worst pieces of crap that I suffered through this year. Up first in this list is Thor: Love and Thunder. This movie is by far the worst comic book film I have seen in 2022. Originally, I was going to put Morbius as the worst comic book film of 2022 instead of this piece of shit, but honestly, I'd rather sit through Morbius again than this film. This film was just insufferable to sit through. The humor in this film is forced, infantile, and not even funny. The CGI half the time doesn't even look finished. Thor in this movie is still a bumbling idiot like he was in Ragnarok, and Natalie Portman was absolutely wasted in this film as Lady Thor. In the movie, they establish that she's dying of cancer like in the comics, but when she finally wields Mjolnir and she becomes Lady Thor somehow, the hammer makes her cancer worse and kills her faster, which doesn't even make any sense because they established in the movie that the hammer can make your health in great shape. Christian Bale in this movie did his best as Gore, but overall, he was put in a movie that does not appreciate his talent, and his character is just underdeveloped. Apparently, he and Thor just magically let go of their grievances and by the end of the movie throw a 2-minute pep talk. And that's about it for him to change his goal of killing all gods in the universe. With all said and done, Thor: Love and Thunder was a complete excruciating train wreck, and I don't recommend it at all. For the love of God, I hope that Taika Waititi doesn't return to direct the sequel for this film. Number 4 is Jurassic World Dominion. This film was just too long, tedious, and boring. I already knew I was not expecting much going into it, and I turned out right in the end. Apparently, the film completely negates the dinosaurs as the main threat of the film, and instead, the real villain is a greedy megacorporation that is unleashing mutant locusts to devour the world's crops so they can have a monopoly over the world's food supply and make a profit. And it's also run by Peter Parker's dad. Look, I don't want to go to see a Jurassic Park movie to know that capitalist corporations are evil, greedy scumbags. We get it already. Not only that, the film completely negates the message of the books and the movies that humans and dinosaurs can never coexist by saying that, oh yeah, humans will definitely find a way to peacefully cohabitate with giant man-eating lizards with feathers. Fuck this movie, and I hope to God there aren't any more sequels. Number 3 is Firestarter. Okay, this movie just pissed me off to no end. While I did not see the movie in theaters, I saw it on the streaming service Peacock, and I still regret it. The only reason I watched this movie was out of pure curiosity to see how bad it is. Because my friend Robert Strickland, who you guys might know as the Right Dude, told me that this movie was absolutely atrocious and was one of the worst films he's seen all year. And then I decided out of pure masochism to see the movie for myself. And Rob, if you're watching, I really should have listened to you, man. I really should have listened. Nothing about this movie worked. The writing doesn't work, the directing doesn't work, the CGI is awful, not even the acting in this film is good. Zac Efron is a good actor, but man was he terrible here. The movie tries to make you so hard to care about the two leads, but it fails. I didn't care about Zac Efron or Ryan Armstrong in this movie, and the main villain of this film, who is supposed to be this hitman, he was so forgettable and boring that I don't even remember his name. Is it the worst horror film I've seen this year? Nope. That honor goes to the number 1 spot. Overall, this movie is fucking bad, like absolutely horrible, that it honestly made me feel like starting a fire of my own. Just to burn this film to fucking ashes. Number 2 is Rob Zombie's The Munsters. Oh dear lord, where do I even begin? When I found out that Rob Zombie was making a prequel/adaptation of The Munsters, I was very skeptical. But I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, since Rob Zombie is a self-proclaimed big fan of the Munsters TV show, and he even said that he is very passionate about the show. And originally I thought he might do a great job with this film considering he was very familiar with the Munsters. But oh boy, was I wrong. This film is boring, poorly paced, poorly acted, poorly edited, poorly written, and it is all kinds of poor execution. This film is a perfect example of how just because you are passionate about the source material does not mean that you will be good at executing it. Sherry Moon Zombie was awful as Lily Munster. She gave a bland performance and all she did was just make really weird hand gestures. And Jeff Daniel Phillips especially was a terrible Herman Munster. His voice is too high-pitched, his performance and the way he delivered his lines was terrible, and not only that, the movie never gave you a good reason for why him and Lily fell in love. They have no chemistry whatsoever, and it reminded me of Anakin and Padme's romances in the prequel trilogy. All they do is whine and cry about how much they love each other without actually delving into why they love each other. The number one rule of filmmaking is show, don't tell. Don't tell us that Lily and Herman love each other, show us why that is. Not only that, I've even talked to some of my friends who are familiar with the Munsters TV show, and they've actually told me that the film is rife with continuity errors that make it impossible to be in canon with the show. First of all, the movie makes it seem that it takes place in the late 50s or early 60s, even though the show took place in the mid-1960s. And since Eddie Munster was at least 10 years old by the time of the TV show, shouldn't this film take place at least by the early 50s or late 40s? Not only that, the robot that appears in the movie called the Tin Can Man is introduced in this movie, but from what I've been told, the Tin Can Man wasn't created until the show, and he was built by Eddie Munster and his grandfather. Rob Zombie, if by some minuscule chance that you are watching this, you claim to be a fan of the Munster show, and yet you made so many continuity errors that it made it seem like you didn't care at all about congruency. Overall, I absolutely despise the Munsters. It was unfunny, boring, and just gave me a headache by the end. And the number one worst film I ever saw in the year 2022 is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I saw this movie on Netflix with some friends, and it was so bad that by the time it was over, it just gave me and my friends a goddamn headache. This movie is not scary, it is uninspired, pretentious trash. It is filled with cheap scares, unoriginal lighting, unlikable leads that are as thin as paper, and cringe lines of dialogue. There is literally a line in this movie where one of the characters holds a camera to Leatherface's face and said, "Try anything and you're cancelled, bro." Like, really? To the person who wrote that line, what the hell were you thinking? The movie establishes that one of the characters is a victim of a mass shooting, but they never really do anything with it or resolve it by the end. The kills in this movie are forgettable except for that one bit in the bus scene, but not only that, Leatherface doesn't even use a chainsaw as a weapon until the third act of the film. The title of your movie is literally Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you're telling me that he never once uses a chainsaw as a weapon until the near end of the film? What the hell, people? The movie should have just been retitled California Corkscrew Catastrophe, or Florida Flamethrower Fiasco, or the Michigan Meat Claw Mayhem, or the Alabama AR-15 Annihilation, or hell, the Oregon Lightsaber Incident. By the way, Zach, if you're watching this, thanks for that title idea, that one gave me a chuckle. Not only that, this film ruins Leatherface from just being a beastly dullard into Jason Voorhees. Leatherface is not Jason Voorhees, for crying out loud. He constantly does these martial arts moves with his chainsaw, and it was just laughable to watch. Out of all the films I've seen this year, not one has pissed me off and put me in a furious rage as this film has. I really hope to God that the horrible reception this film received will discourage any sequels from being made. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know what movies you saw this year that pissed you off so much to the point where it made you want to gnash your teeth in. Goodbye, have a happy new year, and stay tuned for more. Peace.